Good morning, United Kingdom. Good morning and welcome back to the 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. drive time session with Lakhi Singh, uh, the business and property fixer, and the alternative business and property solutions community. Excuse me for the cough. Good morning, Lakhi Singh. How are you?
Good morning. How are we doing?
How you doing? What's the weather like?
The weather is very cold and drizzly here.
Okay. Cold and drizzly. Okay. So,
That's very exciting.
okay, so that's as much as you can say. Right. Okay. So the weather is cold and drizzly. Well, today's topic is 7 steps to being pleasured, or possibly 7 steps of 7 steps to being pleasured, is it? Or 7 steps to happiness. That's right. Happiness, the same thing. Being pleasured and being happy are probably the same thing. And the topic of this week, obviously, the saying of the week is, that's right, go the extra mile because nobody will. So let's see if we can make 7 steps for happiness become 7.5 or 8. We'll go the extra mile. Ah, you see you now, Lakhi Singh. You were hidden away there. What was the reason? You're hiding away from us. You're putting your clothes on.
Yeah, I was doing a bit of
You're doing a bit of a what?
striptease.
A tip tease. What would you do a tip tease for? What are you doing a tip tease for?
So how are we doing?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we're all right. Okay, so we got Deborah on today. The lovely Deborah, full of energy. The lady who always well, we've got Lucky Golf again. Okay, a lady who's never short to meet our expectations. Always a pleasure to have her, and because she's going to tell us the 7 steps to being happy and then being pleasured. We should have her in a bit. She's backstage. So while Lucky tries to fix his camera, stay on with us for a well, make sure he's a bit more correct. Is he on? Are you Lucky? Are you alright with your camera? You keep playing around with it.
As long as you can hear.
Yeah, that's right. As long as you can hear me. All right. Okay, Deborah. Can we have the lovely Deborah on, please? Because we've got the interesting topic today, haven't we? Which is really 7 steps to happiness. Good morning, Deborah. How are you?
I'm really good.
That's good. You sound excelente. You sound wonderful, energized, very positive, which is important. So the topic that you have basically chosen for us, and that is 7 steps to happiness.
Well, you can read yourself.
Pardon?
I'm going to put my headphones on because I can hear feedback.
Okay, great. For that.
Yes.
You right now? Is that better?
Right, let's try. I can still hear feedback.
Can you?
Yeah, is it something volume?
Turn your volume down.
I'm not sure. Maybe is that Lucky? Have you got your mic on too high?
No, mic. My mic. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, we can hear you. I can hear you clearly, Deborah. Though I can hear you perfectly fine. There's no echo on my side.
Okay.
How can you hear us now properly?
Okay. No, I'm getting a lot of echo.
A lot of echo.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we know why? There's nothing from it. Maybe is it your volume, or are you
No,
too close to the mic or something?
No, definitely not. Oh, that's better. That's better, Sophie.
Okay, excellent. Right. Okay. So yeah, 7 steps to being pleasured through happiness. That's what I'm going to call it. Although
No,
I know the topic
it's
is a
not
bit.
for being pleasured.
It's okay. Look, I have to put something on that keeps me focused. Otherwise, I'll start sleeping. It's okay. 7 steps to happiness, and
Okay.
I yes, and I will put on the saying of the week, going the extra mile. So I'm going to try and get the extra half step or 1 step out of Deborah this morning, because I want to go the extra mile, because others won't. So I think it's going to be interesting if we just do it on a numerical base and we take 1 step at a time, and we ask Deborah to reveal to us the first step towards happiness. When we get that, we'll have a discussion on it, and we will then come back to Deborah when we've exhausted our discussion and we have no further discussion to have. So, Deborah, what's the first step towards happiness?
Okay. Well, just to introduce these steps, I was on a bus going down to London, and I thought, I've got a 5-hour journey. What can I do productively in this time? And I thought, I'll write a talk. And so I wrote this talk many years ago, and it's something that I've delivered ever since for many, many different groups, and it's applicable to everybody because everybody wants to be happy. And the first step is that happiness comes from within. And you've got to do the actions with me.
Excellent.
So you go, happiness comes from within. Because when you're doing the actions, it helps
Happiness
you to
comes from within.
within. Yeah.
Within.
And it's something that money can't buy. You can have all the money in the world and not be happy. Because it's something that's deep within you. But it's actually a decision that you make. So you actually need to decide to be happy, because there's certain things that you need to do in order to be happy, and we're going to cover those in today. And so you can choose.
Okay.
So that's your first one.
Okay, the first one. Let's take that, slice that out of the 7 slices, hand that over to Lakhi Singh to find out what he thinks about that slice. Is that the first or one of the first steps toward? Is it happiness within? Are you required to be happy within to become happy? And what does that require? Is that so simple? Is it such a simplistic statement, but it's really quite a difficult one to have? Because if you get that one right, all the others become easy. What do you say, Mr. Singh?
I think if people could forget how to breathe, they would.
Yes, possibly not what I was looking for. So
Basically,
people
because basically what I'm trying to say is that the first step is actually about you, and in the same way, you should remember to actually just keep yourself happy. So it's just as important as breathing. So that's the point.
Yeah, you're confirming the point, but you're not giving us a deeper understanding, which is what we look for. We all look towards you, the fixer, to give us a deeper understanding, because we've got people listening now. You do know where we've gone over the 2,000 mark, and we have Mr. Sarish Patel, who has won the silver membership, and he's also obviously being an opportunity to come on, talk to us, and also present himself and his business and what he does. Yeah, so I'm saying, Lakhi, happiness within. I mean, you've got to be happy within. But that's a very simplistic statement, but that's a very complicated statement, because in order to be happy within, you normally have to let go of everything around you, everything in your exterior that also is part of who you are and what drives you, because there are explicit forces and implicit forces. There is exterior expectation and internal expectation. The external or exterior sometimes overwhelms the internal, and therefore you get people who are not living for themselves. But then in that they find internal peace. For example, you could give Florence Nightingale. So Florence Nightingale started off her journey as a nurse. She went to India, and I think it was St. Mary's Hospital, if I'm not wrong. Somebody should correct me because I may have gotten it wrong. She started there and started to nurse ill people. And this hospital was not a hospital that was merely for the East India Company and people who were Britishers who were it was actually for Indians, for people in India, and most likely, I think, if I'm not wrong, the story is it was for people who were poor people. Now, one could say she was doing it for the comfort of people, and it's like responsibility is got a weird connotation to it. Responsibility sometimes can overwhelm your internal desires, and it can lead to you becoming who you are. Like Florence Nightingale, the external takes over the internal, but the internal is satisfied because the external is actually very giving. So how do you determine that one simple sentence, and how do you get people to realize that they have to achieve their internal happiness? Because it's a simple word, a simple sentence.
If I could come in there with myself.
Pardon?
If I could come in there, you've said a couple of things.
Yes, you can come in all the time. Yes, you can.
I'm getting a lot of feedback.
I'd like to squeeze you in between me and Lakhi again. Fire away.
Yeah, I don't know what the sound quality will be like on Facebook, but I'm getting a lot of reverb on in here.
It's quite clear on our side.
I think it might be worth just dialing back and for a second, Deborah, and see if you get a better line.
Yeah, I'll leave and I'll come back in.
Yeah, just do that.
Please. Yeah. We'll wait for you. I will wait for you. Right, Lakhi Singh. Tell us what's going on in the business world. Talking of externals.
Yeah, it's a bit of a massive hole in the economy at the moment, and it seems to be getting worse, I think.
Most holes have got pleasure in them, Lakhi Singh. What type of hole is this?
Yeah, I don't think many holes with the pleasure in them.
Yes.
They've got holes with which are becoming worse. Things are getting worse in the economy.
Is that the latest headline? Is it? There's a big gap in the economy, is there?
Well, I think these headlines aren't really being published, but there was somebody on Newsnight a few weeks ago on Question Time actually saying that this is the worst recession in 300 years.
300 years? He's probably 350 years old, isn't he? Coming back to someone who's only 25 years old, Deborah, with all of your naiveness and your youth, please tell us, you wanted to squeeze in between me and Lakhi and say something?
Yeah, we were talking about happiness coming from within, and you were saying about internal and external, and like the whole thing is that if you're waiting for external things, like I'll be happy when I've got the car, I'll be happy when I've got this house, I'll be happy when I've got the perfect job or the perfect marriage or relationship. well, then you're putting your happiness on external factors. And if those factors
Yes.
don't happen, well, then you're not happy. So this is why it's an inside job. And you can choose to be happy no matter what's going on around you through your own internal mastery. So that's the first step. And what you did is you actually went on to the next step without realising it, VJSL. Because step number 2 is let go.
Naughty.
Yes.
What was the next step then?
Let go. So step number 2 is let go. You can't take your baggage with you. You've got to let go of the past. And what happens is people go through life and bad things happen to
go?
them.
Did you say? You're cracking up.
Yes, you let go. Because people carry the
Letting
burdens
things
around.
go.
So if you imagine you're walking around and something happens to you and you're,
Okay.
I'm going to keep hold of that one. I might need that one again in the future. And you put it in your sack and you're carrying
Let
this
go.
sack of burdens around with you. I think we're losing VJ Sal. He's disappeared now.
I think we let him go. I think it's quite funny that you said that and he sort of disappeared.
He has, hasn't he?
Anyhow, I'm back. Okay. Let's take that topic. Letting things go. Okay. Lakhi, what is it that you understand by the matter of letting things go? And what are those things? Are they round things? Are they square things? Are they long things? Are they short? Are they feelings? What are they? What does Deborah mean by letting things go?
I think in life we have a lot of attachment and not letting things actually become you, rather seeing them for what they are, and not actually letting the drama of life actually take over. So a lot of people watch TV. Their TV is their reality. A lot of people might have a high pressure job. Their pressure of their job becomes their reality. A lot of people maybe realizing there's a disease out there that it can kill people, and that may be their reality now. The reality doesn't have to be around what's happening, what they're saying. You need to be able to let go whatever's going around you, keep yourself in good spirits.
Is that what she's saying? I don't think that's what she's saying. I think
that's what she's saying.
I think she's saying letting things go has two connotations, maybe. My understanding of what she's saying is that you're walking around life and you're picking up things that have a negative effect on you. Because if you pick up things which are like, for example, let's play the example out. You go and you find a good friend in life. Now, you're not going to let go of the good friend because that person is good for you. They give you advice, they give you comfort, they give you honesty. Whatever you regard as having a good friendship or a healthy relationship is what that person gives you. Now, you're not going to naturally let go of them because, right, you've had 6 years of my life throw you out, doesn't work. And you have certain people who are in your life who may have a lot of negativity in them anyway. When you met them with negativity, you carried their negativity, and their negativity rubs off on you to form greater negativity. And therefore, in order to become internally happy, you've got to be able to let go of that relationship, because that relationship now has become a burden for you, because you've got the burden of letting go of something that you've had for a time, and then you have the time that actually makes you somewhat emotionally caught caught up, I would say, emotionally caught up in not having the forthrightness or the determination to let that relationship go, even though it's intoxicating your internal side. And I think the same thing could apply for things, for goods. I think Deborah mentioned once she left for the jungles of the Amazon. She literally ended up going through all of her stuff, letting go of things that had no relevance, but they were just there because she couldn't let go of things. She was a hoarder. That's what I understand of it. I don't think it's necessarily the way you described. I think it's a bit more deeper than that. I think as time goes on, time equals importance, even if that thing's good or bad. And the longer you have somebody in your life or something in your life, somehow you get used to it, and you get used to it even though it's eating away at your energies, the goodness, what you really want to achieve for yourself, and you become a victim of time, and time equals, you know, responsibility in certain cases, and time sometimes equals normality, and time sometimes equals you know, what's it now? What's that wording? What do they say? They say familiarity. That's right. So is that right?
Familiarity breeds contempt.
Yeah, but no, familiarity breeds contempt. But we're saying that time equals contempt.
At least with me and you, anyway.
Pardon?
At least with me and you, anyway.
Okay,
Yes.
so what I'm
Yes,
actually
Deborah.
referring to is about letting go of the past and things that don't serve you and things that have happened to you, so that we're not in this victim mode. So the past doesn't equal the future, and sometimes we have to forgive people and let go of any bad feeling towards them, so that we can actually empty all these burdens that we're carrying along with us and start over fresh every single day. So it's about emptying these burdens and moving on.
But Deborah, look, okay, I understand what you're saying, but sometimes you want to be nice, you want to let go, you want to move forward with a positive energy, and you want to reconcile what you had in your past, but the other person is not willing to get to where you're at, and they're very bitter with you, or they're very spiteful of you because they don't like to see the fact that you are in a better place. What do you do then? Even though you want them to just to reconcile with you, you want them just to reconcile. You don't want them to be a part of your future. You don't want them to be burdening themselves in your new, your new now. How do you go through that conflict?
Well, sometimes you do reconcile. Sometimes that other person isn't ready for that, and you can only work on yourself. You can't expect them to do anything. You can only work on yourself. But when you change, the things around you change. When you change, the people around you change. And all you can do is stay in that highest in place of integrity, having, forgiven or moved on. If that other person's not ready to move on, well, then you let them go.
Okay. And this is why I said to you, time equals responsibility sometimes. Sometimes somebody who is let's suppose there's a concept of somebody who was broken or who needs you, but you realize they have gotten to their peak, they've gotten to their best, but they are no longer needing you. They don't need you in their life. And I think this is I'm mainly referring to male, female, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, that type of relationship where there is a lot of emotion involved because there's much more in the pot. There are children, there's other things. So perfectly fine. but you do get sort of like this grey overlap, and that sometimes drags you back into negative zone, even though you're trying to be good and you're trying to let go of what you had with them and move forward with something which is a bit more positive, but they're still stuck. And there's a relationship, you can't let go of the relationship. You can't just say let them go because you've got kids with them. How do you manage it then, Deborah?
It still comes back to yourself. When you manage yourself, when you manage your own energy, miracles can happen. You know, I've been through divorce. I made a choice in that when we were splitting up, to be his friend, to be his girlfriend's friend. You know, he left me for another woman. I made that conscious choice to be friends with them and not to have any animosity. And I planned out how things were going to go by not harbouring any grudges and looking ahead to have for my children to have the best chance of a positive role model in me and how I was actually dealing with that situation. And so you can do it, but I realised that not every situation is the same. And sometimes you've got to cut all ties because, like, there's a lot of narcissists out there who, and you can never ever win with a narcissist. You know, they're not reasonable. You can't negotiate with them. And so sometimes that letting go means cutting off the past for your own health, for your own mental stability, and drawing a line under everything and moving on.
Okay, this is all well and good, Deborah. It's all excellent. It's really, it's, you know, statements and sayings, and I understand what you're trying to get to. Lakhi Singh, tell me, is it as easy as Deborah says it is? Can you just try to be happy within and let go of things that are around you, or, you know, or even personal possessions, whatever you want to call them, like a packet of chips or something that you've got that you, you know, you find comfort with? Can you just let go, Lakhi Singh?
I think you can. Not always easy. It can be done. I think a lot of it is a lot of people are not able to always see beyond what situation they're in, and I think they've got to be, let's just say, they've got to help themselves. Nobody's going to help them if they don't help themselves. So first of all, they've got to decide what they want. Then they've got to understand really the implications of not doing what they need to do to actually be happier within themselves. And if they're not able to be clear about what the outcome is, then the likelihood is that they could get stuck in an emotional vacuum, and that could be their life.
Okay.
And you can end up in a codependent relationship. So, you know, if your happiness is dependent on somebody else and that person's not happy and they're not going to be happy if you're happy, well, then, you know, it's not serving either of you. And so letting go of each other and moving on is a compassionate thing to do, because you're giving the other person and yourself the opportunity to grow and to stand up and be on your own, and you know, not thinking that you need somebody in your life. That's the worst thing, is going into another relationship when you're not over the first one.
Right, excellent advice there. I think that's probably the most important practical bit you've given people, because I think people have a habit of going to touch base, going back to, you know, the what do they call it in relationships? The what they call them, the what's that name? What's that word? The what? The bounce back. No, it's not called the bounce back. It's called something else. She's or he is the. I forgot the name of it. It's a terminology when they're going to relationship, which are not the real relationship. They're merely going back to getting comfort.
Rebound.
Pardon?
Rebound.
The rebound. Yes, the rebound. So a lot of people do that, don't they, Deborah? They go for rebounds in the relationship.
And this is why when my marriage broke up, I made a conscious decision not to go into another relationship for years, because it took me years to heal. And when you're in a relationship with somebody, it's like you lose part of yourself if you, if you allow yourself to be controlled in any way. And so you've got to really come back to knowing who you are, what do you stand for? Because you can take on the other person's traits as well. And
I don't think you can. I think you do. That is part of relationships, isn't it? I mean, that's what you go into a relationship for, to share feelings and ideas. And sometimes, I think we've had this discussion a few times when we're talking about property and business. And one of the things I think I've come up with, and look, I'm only 32, but even at my young age, I've realized that it's important in a relationship. 32, yeah. I'll delete that when we put it out in the call. Remember to delete that bit. So, what I'm saying is that I've realized that a successful relationship does need commonality in interest. It sounds very basic, but I think it makes a lot of difference in the relationship when both people have the same type of interest. So we're not talking about being professional, not talking about being working, because you can have the interest in something, and one can be quite comfortable as a housewife, but she has the interest, and the gentleman can be as equally, he can be equally busy in his working life, but he's got the common interest, and that common interest is what makes the relationship gel. And I think that is really what happens in relationships, isn't it, Deborah? That somehow relationships form. They're not purely, 100% matched. There's always some disparity. They take a form, and certain bits of the husband go to the wife, certain bits of the wife go to the husband. They share certain, commonalities, but they sort of mix and match each other's preferences. And what happens then is, if the preferences are unbalanced, so the gentleman possibly totally gets absorbed by his wife or his girlfriend's requirements, or vice versa, you can always see it in a relationship. It seems as if one party is walking on eggshells. And I think that goes back to that person or party not being happy internally, and they are walking on eggshells. And I think it takes a lot of strength when you create that relationship where one or the other is, basically walking on eggshells, afraid of what their partner's going to say or do, to take the strength to break away from that and try and bring parity back into the relationship. What do you say, Deborah, to that?
Yeah, well, commonality brings you together in the first place, in that attraction. But what's more important is actually a values match, because without a values match, the relationship will never work.
All right, a values match will never work, you say?
No, without the values match, the relationship won't work.
Match. Okay, it won't work.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the commonalities are important, because obviously you want to do things together as a couple. And so if you've got completely opposing interests, it's like, well, when are we going to spend any time together? If you like fishing and I like bird watching, but we never ever have things in common. That's quite
different. I mean, that's quite unique. I would probably find a rare couple where the lady likes to go and fish and the bloke likes watching birds. Probably the other way around. Yeah. But anyhow.
So we've covered the first two steps. So the first step was happiness comes from within. The second step was let go. And the third step is watch your words. And what I mean by watch your words is that, like if I was to say to you now, VJ Sal, how are you?
I'm 5'6.5". I am slim. And
how are you?
Yeah. How am I? I am a bloke.
Just this morning. Hi, how are you this morning, VJ Sal? Like as a greeting, how would you respond
Yeah,
to it?
okay. Yeah, I'm fine.
See, a lot of people say that, I'm fine. But somebody says that to me, you ask me.
You, how
Listen,
you doing?
I am awesome. Right. Now, the thing is that words create emotion. So if you're fine, your body is fine. But if you're awesome, your body lights up, and because you're giving it an instruction. So your words are so important. How you talk to yourself is critical, and you have to be your own best friend. So, like, monitor your thoughts. We've talked about this on previous shows. Be conscious of your thoughts. Be conscious of how you're talking to yourself. Would you talk to your
Okay.
best friend the way that you talk to yourself?
That's a
And
good one.
if you did, would they still be
That's
your
a
best
good one.
friend?
Yes, I would talk to you, Mr. Singh, in the same way.
He's
So
disappeared.
his touch base is done off, run off. Right, okay, let's leave him to his own vices. Okay, that's a really interesting one. I think if we with all those people listening to this, if they only applied that formula, okay, that formula, I think there wouldn't be any arguments.
Yeah.
What do you say, Deborah?
Do you know, I cannot remember the last time I had an argument with anybody.
When you done that? Just excuse me 1 minute. I've got how many? Oh, shout out. We've got Julie Ford, Bhavani, John Smith, and Mandy. All shout out. Got no love hearts today. I think you have obviously, on purpose, told all your lovers not to be watching your program, Deborah. I
Oh no,
know
I've
you
shared it.
trying
I
to
shared it on my
make.
Facebook page.
Okay,
If you
right.
want
Okay,
to,
tell
just
me
send
then.
us some love hearts.
Yes, please send some love. I'm just trying to make, because I like to pretend like the love hearts are all for me and give you one. Okay, tell me then, Deborah. Okay, how do you get into the habit of talking to others as you expect to be talked to?
Well, it's being conscious of your words, and and coming back to that, words create emotion, they create energy. Using positive words, not using derogatory words towards myself or anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody ever finds themselves in a low emotional state, use the power of questions to change your focus, and ask yourself some empowering questions, because that can really help shift. It's like, what have I got to be grateful for right now? That has got me out of so many situations. And when my marriage did break up and I was in that really deep place of going through the grieving process, that got me through. Super powerful. But we'll go
It
on to
is.
the next
I
one,
mean,
VSL, because otherwise we're not going to be able to get through all the 7 steps.
no, I think it's important to cover them properly. I think it's never, when you're telling people stuff like this, it's very important for them to understand, not just get the header, because
Yeah.
the header can be misinterpreted by anyone. I think if you're giving advice, I would rather take it slowly. I like to take things slowly, properly, and I like to enjoy the moment with you.
Okay.
So, do you like it to be slower, or do you like it fast?
Well, you can cover the 7 steps in whatever time period you
Yeah,
want.
we may do it on the second
It
show as
depends
well.
on,
So
it
I'd love to
depends
have
on
you
how.
on again. Yeah, I'd love to have you on again. So, because I still think whatever you bring to the table is very deep, very inspiring. I think it should help a lot of people during this difficult time. Because I'm sure there's lots of relationships that are going through, difficult patches, being together, caught up in one, small space, having to sit at home all day, or not have the pleasure of going out and taking time out with X, Y, Z. Okay, so talking to people as you want people to talk to you. So what are the key factors then? Just tell me what the key factors are. What do you do? What are those good words you can always use? however angry you are. What are those words you can use that makes the conversation positive?
Well, I tend to look at what's the situation. You know, anybody who's angry with me, it's like, what's going on for them? That's something that's going on in their life. It's something from their past that's triggering them.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's about showing compassion and not letting myself get drawn into any drama that's playing out. I don't do drama. I don't get involved in drama. So it's about rising above that. And it's also about emotional intelligence. If we're finding that we're going into like getting frustrated, for example, really, and getting angry and being in a rage. You know, I used to do supported lodgings with homeless teenagers, and sometimes, you know, some of the young lads who came to live with me for a period of time would get really angry. And I can understand why they got angry because, you know, of things that had happened in the past. But what we did was we looked at emotional intelligence, and quite often it's because the vocabulary is limited, so they don't have the range of words in order to choose which emotion is more appropriate. So, for example, if you've got somebody who just flies off the handle, and they're going from being normal to being in a rage, they're not emotionally intelligent. And so what you can do is look in a dictionary and put some words in the middle and teach them the meaning of those words and get them to stop and think, okay, well, am I in a rage, or am I like, what's just happened? Does that warrant being niggled about it or frustrated, and putting some extra steps in so that they're on a scale rather than going from here to the extreme.
Okay.
And that's what emotional intelligence is about.
Talking of drama, we've got Lucky back.
We have.
Yes, Lucky, you back? Are you all right?
I'm fine, yeah, thank you.
Okay, right. Okay. We're still at that point because I'm trying to get from Deborah a deeper understanding of that thing that you're talking about, which is letting the words guide how people behave with you, especially if there's some trauma. And I think she's brought out something very important, that when people are angry at you, they're probably angry at you not because of what you're doing, but probably something about something's happened in the past with them. Is that right, Deborah?
Yeah.
Right. So it's very difficult, but I think it becomes clear. I think the most important thing out of these steps that I've found now is the third step, and that is talking to people as you would like for them to talk back to you. I'm going to use that in future. So I'm going to be talking
Can you
to...
keep quiet for a second, Vijay Sal?
Yes. Funny.
It works.
Right, okay. Right. Deborah. For a second now.
You got him there, Lakhi.
Very well done.
The
Okay,
first time
Deborah.
I've seen him lost the word, you know.
And
Yes.
did you notice he didn't get triggered? Which is very good,
Yes.
Vijay.
Right. Deborah, next,
I think
please.
it's only because he's on the show, otherwise it'd be very different.
Yes, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Yes, Deborah, please. Next point.
Okay. So step 4 is physiology and focus. So physiology and focus. And what do I mean by this?
Focus. Yes.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Physiology and focus.
So we're going to do an exercise, and I want everybody who's watching in to do this as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit in a state, and I want you to go into a state where you feel low mood and depressed. So when you're feeling in that way, how do you sit? Where are your shoulders? Where's your head? Just notice what's happening to your breathing. Is it full? Is it shallow? And what do you have to focus on in order to feel depressed? So just note those things.
Just thinking about listening to Vijay Sal.
And now I want you to come out of that state, change your body, shift your body, right? And I want you to stand up. So stand up. And now I want you to look up at the ceiling and put a silly grin on your face, and I want to see your teeth. And now, from that state, I want you to try and do depression. No, stand up, Vijay Sal.
Oh, okay.
Stand up. And from that state, try and go back into that state of depression. Is it possible?
Yes. Everything's possible.
It's not possible to go into depression when you're actually looking up at the ceiling with a silly grin on your face and I can see your teeth. Lakhi, can I have some feedback on that, please? How was that exercise for you?
Yeah, I think I tried,
Yes,
but I couldn't help
you
smiling.
first, please.
You couldn't help smiling. And what about you,
Yeah,
Paige?
I just thought of Vijay Sal's bad jokes, and it still managed to continue smiling somehow.
I think the physical movement forces you. I think even if you want to be depressed, you can't be, or you can't pretend to be sad. I think the physical movement and the fact that you're forcing yourself to grinning, there's probably some muscular matter about it that actually takes you out of sadness. It's not possible that you can, like, I can't smile and think of something evil. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
But I can think of something evil like that. And I can think of something really disgusting like that. But if I'm smiling, I can't be doing anything, evil. Can't smile and be evil. It's not possible.
So it's changing the chemistry in your body. When you're changing your body, you're changing your physiology, you're changing, like just looking up and smiling changes everything. You can't do depression.
Talking of depression, we've got Marsha, who's trying to bring Lakhi out of his depression and says, hi, good morning, lucky man. Continue, please, Deborah. So what was that point? What were you saying? Are you talking about smiling? Are you talking about making your body physically feel happy? What was the point again? Because I forgot that.
So we're talking about, so we've done physiology. The next bit is focus, what you're focusing on. If you're focusing on all the bad things that have happened to you in life, you're going to feel down. If you're focusing on all the positive things and the things that you want to create and the things that you love, the people that you love, the things that you're grateful for, it's going to change your focus and it will shift how you feel emotionally. So if you want to be happy, you focus on the positive things that are going on in your life and on gratitude. And rather than being a victim, you're focusing on taking personal responsibility for everything that's created in your world, in your life, because you're creating everything, whether you know it or not.
Okay.
So it's about coming out of victim consciousness.
Let's try and understand that, Deborah. Let's try and understand. So what you're saying is the physiology was what we did there, trying to put our body, basically putting your body into a state that it would be, if you were happy, let's suppose you weren't feeling happy, but physically making yourself, behave in a way that you would behave if you were happy. Yeah. You said the physiology, and then what was it? The
focus.
The focus. So focusing on something that pleasures you, is that right?
Not necessarily. It could be focusing on a goal. It could be focusing on somebody that you love. It could be focusing on things that you're grateful for.
Okay, so focus is one way of putting a meaning to that physiology. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you can give meaning to anything that's happened in your life.
Right.
So
do you do the focusing first before you do the physiology?
Yeah. You can do it in any order.
No, you so you're going to focus first, and then you're going to do the physiology. If you do the physiology first without any purpose, then the focusing afterwards doesn't really make sense, does it?
You can focus on anything you want. You can be in a state of depression and like looking down, and then just change your focus and then go into gratitude, and it shifts instantly. But when you do the two together, when you do the two at the same time, it shifts you quicker.
Well, that's an important word that comes up again, isn't it? Gratitude. So gratitude, and we could use that for a broad brush and say, just use the word gratitude and focus on gratitude, whatever level, whatever thing it is. Lakhi, have you ever focused on gratitude?
Gratitude is actually the next step 5. So it's a good one to talk about, Lakhi.
Oh, we won't talk about that yet. Let's take the focusing, because I want to know what your focus is on. What do you focus on?
I focus, but when I'm thinking about you.
Words. No, you can't be thinking about me when you're focusing. Take the focus on something else.
Yeah, think about you.
Okay, while you're thinking about me, we have a newcomer to our show, a lady by the name Sharon Glover. So it's not like, I think she's
Sharon's
like
a good friend of mine. Hi, Sharon.
Sharon. She's one of yours.
She's lovely. I love Sharon to bits. Yeah.
Right. She reminds me a bit of Sharon Stone, but without the stone. That's Sharon Glover. So Sharon
Hi,
Glover.
Sharon.
Sharon Glover is giving a shout out, and we've also got who else we got? Got D20 man, the lovely D20 man, where me and her obviously are preparing for a duet soon. We will be performing.
Hi, Dee. Yeah, Sharon, Dee and I work together as a team. We have such fun.
Excelente. You and Sharon has been working as a team.
And
so I'm not going to ask you something that I'm focusing on, which is yeah. Have you ever been to the Forest of Dean, Deborah? Have you seen the beavers at the Forest of Dean?
No.
Have you ever seen the beaver in the Forest of Dean?
I haven't.
Have you ever been to the Forest of Dean?
No.
You must go there because it's a lovely thing to focus on. So, Lakhi, so we move across to Lakhi Singh then. Lakhi Singh, you've not, okay. We've got someone. Julie thinks that Lakhi is really funny this morning. She's giggling at, she's smirking at Lakhi Singh. But Lakhi Singh, what is it about your focus that's making everybody happy this morning?
So I've actually taken all the steps that Deborah's given quite literally, and I am now using them to the nth degree.
Excellent.
Because why not?
Excelente. Excelente. Now we're going to go on to point 5.
So we've already talked about point 5, gratitude. You know, the secret power of gratitude. And I discovered this when I was going through that breakup in my marriage and feeling in that really low place. And I knew that I needed to come up with an empowering meaning for why my husband was leaving me for another woman. It was trading me in for a younger model. So that was one way I could look at it. But another way I could look at it was he set me free.
That's a negative way. That's a negative way of looking at it. Well, that's the negative way of looking at it, isn't it, Deborah?
It is.
Another way of looking at it would be.
But it took me 2 days. It took me 2 days to come up with the meaning. And the meaning that I gave to that situation was he set me free and I can now become the person that I'm destined to be. And so when I thought about him leaving me, I actually felt really grateful and I felt excited and I felt empowered. And that shifted my focus. I could have very easily gone into the poor me and being the victim, but I didn't. I took personal responsibility for my part in the marriage breaking up.
I'm going to ask you a question. Deborah, it's important because this, I think what you're talking about affects a lot of people. You know, we know that relationships and divorce and this has become very common. It's not nice. would you suggest having an open relationship with everybody is sharing everybody? Could that work?
There's a lot of problems that arise in relationships like that. Human emotions are, you know, like people feel jealous and, you know, they have other emotions going on. It certainly wouldn't work for me. It's not one that I would choose. But anybody who does choose that have to be aware of the dangers that come along with that and the heartbreak that goes along with it as well.
Vijay, me and you can have an open relationship.
So yeah, gratitude. And to do gratitude, it's so easy. Just put your hands on your hearts, guys. And if you're watching in on this, you know, or listening later, put your hands on your hearts right now and just go into that really beautiful place. Come on, DJ, you got to do it. You got to do it. Put your hands on your heart.
Lakhi Singh.
And just feel the gratitude now. And we can always find things to be grateful for. We're alive, you know, we've got food on the table. We're so better off than the majority of the people on the planet right now. Yes. I'm very grateful to be with you guys on the show today.
Hand, Lakhi Singh, hand.
So we can always find things to be grateful for, but gratitude is the secret weapon because it melts away every single negative emotion. So if you're feeling really, really down, just do this and just write down, keep a gratitude journal and write down on a daily basis all the things that you can be grateful for today. And start your day off in gratitude and end your day in gratitude, and it will raise your vibration and put you in that really beautiful state. So make it a ritual. Make it a ritual. And that leads on to the next one. DJ Sal. Can I talk about the sixth one?
You've got a giggle out of Deborah today. I like that. Lovely giggle.
Because, you know, the step number 6 is make happiness a habit. You've got to make it a habit. You've got to condition it into the body. You're building new neural pathways. And teaching the brain how to respond to things. And so, you know, it's like when you go to the gym and you want muscle, you've got to keep using that muscle. You've got to keep lifting those weights to build that muscle. Repetition is what builds the muscle. And it's the same with new habits. We have to build them into our daily routine.
With that actual point. What's the point though? Is it repetition or is it habit? What's
building daily habits, but making happiness a daily habit, because it's something that you're choosing. So yeah, something that you're choosing. So you've got to
well, I've got an interesting point that's come from Rajesh Malhotra. Says he used to write down what he used to think was whatever he thought he was grateful for, gratitude, list of things he was grateful for. And he said it took him, you know, it was really difficult at the beginning, and now he seems to find it quite easy because there's probably only one thing on his list, I assume. At the same time, we have Dee, 20 minutes, says that she gets a lot of joy out of listening to us, which is good. I think that's lovely. I think that if we can give a bit of happiness back, a bit of humor, you know, a bit of inspiration. I know we do give information sometimes that seems a bit doom and gloomy, but the fact is that we also give a lot of stuff out there, which is to get people talking to each other. And whether it's the new way, social media, or whether it's internet, or it's you know, other ways of doing business, it means you're talking to people. Talking to people, which is what Deborah said. Words are very important. I'm gonna put a freeze button on today because we're running out of time. Deborah, as always, I'm going to use this as a wonderful excuse to have you back. Squeeze between me and you. An open relationship, me, you, and Lakhi. You can be there for both of us. How's that sound?
You can have a great hug, like I'm there in the middle of you at the moment. We can have a great hug.
I love
Everybody give yourself a hug right now.
I love the feel in you. I love your voice. Yes, that's so nice.
But you know, some people
To
need
you too.
completion, VJSL, and we've only got one more step, and so I just want to tell you what that step is, and then we can cover it next time. But the step 7 is about having a higher purpose, because life isn't just about us; it's about contribution, and it's about giving back. So, you know, who do you know right now who needs a helping hand? Who you could ring up and you know, be a friend to? How can you help your community? How can you help the wider world? You know, pay it forward, random acts of kindness. So this is like the 7th step to happiness. It's not just about us. When we put our focus on being of service, well, then we can get out of our own way. And you know, that's a good habit to develop. And so just to recap on the 7 steps, the first step was happiness comes from within. The second step is let go. The third step is watch your words. The 4th step is physiology and focus. The 5th step is gratitude. The 6th step is make happiness a habit. And the 7th step is have a higher purpose. And those are my 7 steps to happiness. And I live these every day. And I speak from my own personal experience. I never speak about anything that I haven't personally incorporated into my life. Because, you know, for me, it's showing people away. So thank you.
Can you imagine, if Deborah could do that as an air stewardess on the aeroplane before when everybody got on? Can you imagine how much happier the flights would be?
I love that idea of it.
Yeah,
I love that, Lakhi. Maybe
yes,
I can get a job teaching the airlines all this.
Exactly. And there are certain airlines, I think trains, Virgin, they have these lots of little sayings on the wall and all that are quite funny. And actually make you laugh, even though you're in journey. So I'm going to have to say goodbye because we're already running out of time. We're going to ask Deborah to come back next week sometime, 8 a.m., 9 a.m. And we're going to do repeat. And we're going to start from gratitude onwards in detail, like we did the first 3 steps. Lakhi Singh, last, take care. See you tomorrow, 8 a.m. We'll actually, tomorrow is...
So you need to stay on afterwards, yeah? Because we've got a conference with Deborah.
Is 8:30 tomorrow morning to 9:15, is that right? Or 8:45 to 9:30, that's right. See you there, sir. Take care,
We decided to stay on afterwards, yeah? Okay.
Okay.